story. Okay.
Oh, let me see. Okay. So Well-Educated Heart is taking a different road. And so this video is from Candid Camera, and they get on the elevator, and there's like a person on the elevator, and he's facing like out to the door like we all face. And the Candid Camera has their people get on, and they're facing their back to the door. And so the guy's kind of uncomfortable, and he's like, what's the deal? Anyway, and how he eventually turns with his back to the door too, because he feels uncomfortable doing it different, and how we conform, and how we have to be careful that we're going to conform to the right things. That if we choose a path and we feel like that is the right path, that we make sure we stay on that path, even if we're the only ones.
That is significant. Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that. And that, gosh, there's so many other stories that kind of go along with that too. And I love the fact that we see that, the importance of that. I love when you see things where you see a little person who is being the one that's not conforming, and sometimes I think that's not always a bad thing, that they have that kind of, to stand alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their parents don't always appreciate that, but it's not a bad quality.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, friends. Emily and I have just been on here chatting. It's just so nice. So nice. Oh, and by the way, Emily, the potatoes are yummy. Thank you so much.
Oh, good.
I brought some over here across the state, so these guys could have some. Not that they can't get them at the grocery store, but it's just something different getting them from you. So appreciate it.
And they're a little bit older at the grocery store.
Yeah, right. Right. So we're enjoying them. Okay, friends, it's nice to be back with you. I can't believe how fast Friday comes around when you're doing night duty with a brand new baby. It's just all of a sudden it was Friday morning. Oh, okay. We get to meet. That's wonderful. I have a different view on this morning. I need to change this so that I see all of you guys. There we go. Okay. Okay, well, how are you all feeling as you're approaching maybe the end of your school year? Since I know most of you are have kids in school or that you're teaching at home, but you're approaching the end of the year. Does that always feel good to you? I love that. It always feels fabulous to me. I love as we're getting down to the end. In fact, I usually didn't make it this far. I usually had skipped out by this time. It's like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, we've been trunky for a little while, and so I'd say summer mode has crept in for a few weeks, but now we've got the public school ones are done now, and our daughter, my older daughter, just graduated. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, but this type of homeschooling isn't as burning outish as the others. The list checking way, I would really get burned out. And I'm just carrying it on through the summer, only I've got it designed so it'll look like summer clubs that they can be part of. We have a reading club and we have a writing club, and anyway.
I love it. And that makes it fun for them, and probably your kids have buy-in into that too, if they're participating a little bit. Like I know you were sharing with us on Marco Polo, your little plan that your kids have kind of designed that you're doing for the next couple of weeks, or rotating. Are you rotating this plan of Modern Week and Old Fashioned Week?
No, it's totally unique. It's an experiment, a 2-week experiment. Well, it ends up being 2.5 weeks. So this is their last day of Modern. And, it hasn't been too bad. They've just had free reign of stuff that usually I limit a whole lot. And it's interesting. I'm curious to see what they learn from it. But I've got all kinds of fun stuff planned for next week. And they even keep saying, I'm looking forward to Pioneer Week. Once in a while, they'll say that. And I'm like, yes. So because I gave them free reign this week, I think they're more willing to jump completely on board with next week. And then we'll have a talk and say, what was it like and how do we want to incorporate these two things into our lives and kind of find a nice, healthy balance.
Well, I love that you were completely in, well, on board, I guess, for their idea. I think that's great. And like you said, with limits, with boundaries, I can't remember what you said, but, approved
yes.
resources, approved.
Because we didn't want the week to be a chance for them to just go nuts on YouTube and find all kinds of new
right.
But heroes, YouTube heroes, if you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Like, let's have our worldly week. That's not what we're going for.
No.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's great. And we'll be definitely interested in seeing what they get
Cool.
next goods that they pull out of both of those weeks and both of those.
Yeah, I'm interested to see too. Emily, what are you making?
She's amazing.
I'm making laundry bags for graduation gifts.
Oh, fun. That's a great idea. So they can haul their stuff to the laundromat?
Or come home and do laundry. That's what I told my daughter. This is so you can bring your laundry home and see me.
I love that. I think that's such a sweet, very thoughtful gift. And how many have you made for this year, Emily?
22.
So you just, do you give them to friends then? And
yeah, my daughter's graduating, so there's a lot of friends this year, and then there's some in the ward, and then I have some family as well that are graduating. I think I have 5 that are family.
That's neat. Do you give it a personal touch? Like,
yeah, I put their name on it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, my sister has an embroidery machine, so we had a hard time getting together this year, so it looks like a patch.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but usually we put it right on the bag, but we just couldn't coordinate that as well this time. So
that's great. I love that.
Yeah,
I think that's so fun. One year I did it and I thought I was going all out because I made 3. So 22. Now my number is nothing impressive.
I've been making them for quite a while. So I made my husband one when he graduated because we've known each other that long.
I made my husband one that he took to school after his mission. So yep, same thing. I made his brothers ones when they left and I put a little pocket on it and stuck a roll of quarters in it. That doesn't go very far anymore, I've learned, since I went and took the kids' laundry to the laundromat. I was in shock. Oh my word.
Yeah, I think they'll bring it home rather than do that probably.
Yes, and how wonderful, like Emily said, then they get to come home and you get to see them. That's wonderful. Yeah. Where's your daughter going, Emily?
She's going to be home until January, and then she'll go to BYUI. So she said she wanted to harvest. She wanted the full experience of grain harvest and potato harvest without having to stop for school, which we are excited about.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. I was telling Emily the other day, so one of these years I want to come up for harvest and help them. I think that'd be fun.
Your harvest or your local farmer's harvest? Or what harvest are you talking about?
We have a farm. And so she wants to come and drive the grain combine the entire month instead of just for a few days until she has to go back to school. And she wants to be.
Yeah. Where are you located, Emily?
We're in Idaho. We're near BYUI. We're just north and west of them. So yeah.
Sounds fun. That sounds great.
Yeah, if you guys are ever this way, you're welcome to come any time of the year.
Is that what your family does to make a living or for fun on the site?
Yeah, it's what we do to make a living. My kids are the 5th generation.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty impressive place too. I went out and I got to have a tour and everything was that just last summer?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I watched the whole process. I got to go out to the potato cells and see what that looks like. And that was absolutely incredible. Absolutely
Oh,
incredible.
yeah. We're totally taking a field trip out there sometime, Emily. What's the best time of year to come?
Not winter. Not winter. There's not as much to see. Spring is fun. Like, well, February, March is fun because of the baby lambs, and calves start in March, but I'm not as involved in the calves. And then we start to plant late April, and things grow through the summer. And then we harvest grain in July, and then potatoes in September.
Okay, so there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
And Emily's a great teacher. Emily has a YouTube channel too, where she puts videos of some of the happenings around the farm, and it's really, really interesting. And even
What's your channel called, Emily? I'll write it down.
It's called One at a Time.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, One at a Time. ONEATATIME. And when you search for it on YouTube, it's not a very big channel. So you have to put the filter on to just search for the channel name, and you'll find it.
Okay. Cool.
There's videos about all of those things that I just said, the times of year, on there already. So if you can't make it, you can watch the video.
Or you can watch the videos and decide which one you love the best and you want to come out and experience.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be great.
My dad had a lot of siblings and 50 plus grandchildren from my grandparents, and not everyone stayed on the farm, couldn't. And so I made the videos so that they can show their kids what it was like.
Good. We also have farm life in our background, 3 generations back. And yeah, only one of the sons stayed on the farm. And I think it's still in the family, but it's really disconnected.
I think it's so nice that it's a family thing. I just love that.
Hi, Lindsay.
Lindsay's driving home. I'm so glad you could join us. And Laura and Melanie and Melissa, it's just good to be back with you girls. This is wonderful. Hey, Emily, are you going to be around for a bit? I would love for you to share with them a little bit about what you shared about your parents and their mission right now. Just their experience, where they are, and then that experience with the couple from Denmark.
Okay. Do you want me to share it right now?
If you don't mind, if it's not inconvenient.
Okay. No, it's fine. My parents are serving in Bluff Fort, Utah, which is down in the Four Corners area. And they, if you know about the Hole in the Rock pioneers, that's where they're serving. Bluff is the settlement that those pioneers made. Anyway, while they're there, my dad works in the kitchen. He is a candy maker. So he's making candy for the store to sell. The site is not owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's owned by a foundation. And so they're not able to proselyte the gospel, but they're there to man it. They get to dress up in pioneer costumes and work there. People from all over the world stop because there's a lot of sights to see in the area. And they are a clean bathroom. And in the summertime, they have ice cream. So stop for some soft serve ice cream if you're in the area. The experience they had last week is that there was a family from Denmark that came, and the mother had been there decades ago. And they have this trip planned. They're going to be in the United States, driving around and seeing the sights for a couple of months. And she remembered the feeling she had while she was at Bluff Fort as a teenager, and she wanted to come back and to bring her girls back, to have that feeling there, just of the stories and the faith and the courage and the hard work that the pioneers that settled the area had. And the site there at Bluff Fort, they have a replica of the store and of some of the cabins and things there. So she wanted to come back so that her family, and her girls specifically, could feel that feeling. And so my dad was working at the time and got to meet them and hear their story and catch them a little bit later and get to share with them, because we have family that came from Denmark. And so he was like, you know, this is the family's name and we don't know how to say it, because when they came to the United States, they changed their name. And so this Mr. Anderson was explaining to him how to say the last name that the family had when they were in Denmark, and also the name, and I can't pronounce it, I don't remember, then the birthplace of the family and all these things. And Mr. Anderson was like, oh, my family, we ride our bikes through that town and we've seen the cemetery, and you know, we'll have to look and see if we can find that family name there. And it was just a really neat connection that they made. But what I was explaining to Lori was that feeling there, this lady was so drawn to and wanted to come back and experience it again. And then I shared also that the well-educated heart and the studies we do, the peace that it has brought to my homeschool with my daughter, it's not as hectic. Like we were just talking about how it's the end of the year, and I think Shari said, you know, how she doesn't feel the burnout. And anyway, for me, it feels more peaceful. I still have some worry, but it's been better this year using Well-Educated Heart than the other curriculums I've used in the past.
I love that. I think that so much of what Well-Educated Heart is about is the feeling. And are you guys able to hear me? Am I staying? I'm getting a message that my internet is unstable. So are we okay?
I can hear you.
Okay. But this whole idea that we use these heart warming resources, and it makes such a huge difference. It's a simple, really such a simple change to our lives and our schedules. In fact, for most of the women that I talk to, the Well-Educated Heart resources, that pattern of learning is simpler than what they've been doing. And if they're able to let go of their habits from the past, it just makes life so much simpler. And it's not a thing that just affects a school situation. It affects your everyday life. I love to hear stories about that. So I would love to hear from any of you that want to share anything from this past week or the past couple of weeks, things that have touched your heart, experiences that you've had, things that you're learning about or sharing. Would love to kind of catch up and see where you are and see what it is that we're going to talk about today.
I can share.
Great.
I really appreciated some of the book recommendations on here, and I know that Marlene has them anyway, but I did finish Freckles. It was so beautiful, and I'm so excited to try either the Harvester or the other one you mentioned, Lori. But
the Keeper of the Bees.
That's what it was, Keeper of the Bees. There's something, maybe you guys can help me find this. There's something that Marlene said about our souls, and because the literature that we read, either we have a shallow puddle or we have a deep pool. Do you remember where that's at? I keep trying to find it. That filling our minds and hearts with this really beautiful literature and the arts makes in our souls a deep pool of a reservoir of strength and all that stuff. Anyway, I keep thinking back to that, but I can't find where she said it. I want to find it.
I guarantee that by putting it out here, we'll find it. Lindsay often knows where those things are, or she can come up with them.
That would be great if you could. I think it was her voice, and so it might have been
a podcast or a Take 5.
It feels like it might have almost been at the beginning of one of the rotations even.
Oh,
Spain, or it couldn't have been. I don't think it was Spain, but anyway, so it's lost to me. I don't know where. I need to take better notes. When something inspires me, I need to write it down because it's so hard to find it.
Right. Well, I find that often with this. I have because I don't have children at home, this is a silly excuse, because I don't have children at home, I mean, that I'm teaching anymore, I don't do the notebooking. And the other day I thought, I've done notebooking just naturally so many times. Why am I not doing it now? Because these are gems that I want to hold on to. And so that would be the answer. Then I would have a place where I would have those things and I could at least thumb through my pages and find those little treasures.
Yeah. And the other thing that's related to what I wanted to share, related to the literature, I feel like that the arts, but especially the literature that we've been reading, has just really shaped us in the last few years as a family. And my son, my 15-year-old, who went to public school this year, he went to a big birthday party yesterday. They went and saw one of the Marvel movies, I think. The family rented the theater and all this stuff. And afterward, on the drive home, he says, you know, Mom, there was a lot of propaganda in that movie. And he started listing off all the twists and turns and how the traditional family had been twisted and male-female roles had been warped and all this stuff. And he said, Mom, you know, if humans just stop and think, we already do have superpowers. And he said, you know, I think the greatest superpower is being able to be a really inspiring writer. Isn't that amazing? He says, because can you believe how it makes you think and question and how it makes you feel something? And he loves the book Just David, if you guys have read that. He was referring to that one because it just causes you to look at everything differently. So I thought that was neat. That was a little fruit. So I hang on to those fruits when they come and I'm like, oh, a fruit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And do you write those down? Because those are really important to write down for in those moments when you're feeling barren.
Since you said that, I'm going to start a fruits binder now. Thank you. I've got to come up with a clever name for it. A fruits notebook of some kind.
Yeah.
All my hard work.
Right. Exactly. No, I love it. And I think it's important to record those things. This is the work that we're doing. So what better thing? I take notes. I have a map every year, well, every garden season, and I keep track of what I plant where, you know, in which of the beds, and then kind of how it turns out. So what greater, more important thing are we doing than raising these children? So kind of keeping track of how that's going is important. And just soul feeding for us when we can go back and read through and remember, oh, something actually came of this, something wonderful. Even just these little, you know, little small and simple things, right? That keeps coming up for us over and over again.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? Or just a thing, and remember, the smallest things can be just so meaningful, and you might just bring up something that touches somebody else's heart, either somebody that's here today or somebody that watches later. I can tell most of you are busy. We don't have very many faces on the screen. If any of you are able to come on screen, please do, because it's so great to see everybody's faces. And I know as we get, this is always the tough time of the year. When we get to the end of May and then in the first 2 weeks of June, we lose a lot of moms. There's just a lot of activities going on. Lots of things happen Fridays at the end of a school year. So we're all kind of down, but it's lovely because we can just chat.
Lori,
yeah, Emily.
I just want to remind everyone about the art that Marlene has connected. Is it called Simply Joy Art? Anyway, my daughter and I spent some time today, or yesterday it was, just like flipping through it. And it was just a lot of fun. I had a good time using those questions. Now I can't think of any of the questions because I put myself on the spot. Anyway, what do you notice and what does it remind you of? What do you like about it? And anyway, so we just had a great time doing that and found some favorites.
Are you talking about the Book of Delights, Emily?
No, on her website, she has a link to art that's in the public domain.
It's this, oops, I just lost it. It's this part in the under the app or on the website. Hold on.
There's the new website, the Libraries of Hope website, and then there's the older one, the Well-Educated Heart.
It's in the older one. I haven't found it in the new one because I looked there first.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
not
find it,
there.
so I went to the old one.
Yeah, it's still in the old one. It's this Simple Joy right here, Shari. If you can see what's on my screen. So anyway, it is lovely. Thank you, Emily. That's such a great resource to have that just right there. You have art, fine art, you have music, all of those wonderful stories. Just so much right there. Melanie, it's good to see your face. Did you come on so you can share? I hope.
I have had some thoughts mulling over, but that's not why I came on. I guess I'll go ahead and share though. So something that's been on my mind lately is music and opera. My voice teacher, I started taking lessons the last few months because I feel like part of my core life mission is wound up in singing somehow. And I feel like it's the right time to prepare myself for whatever I'm supposed to do. So, but I've never really had that much interest in opera specifically, but that's like, it seems like you're supposed to be classically trained, right? So anyway, my voice teacher is an opera singer, and she explained that, you know, you learn the technique first, which at its core is basically opera style. And then from there, you learn how to manipulate things to do a variety of styles. So right now I'm getting more into the opera style again. And I have, like I said, I've never really liked opera itself that much, but she's having me sing some arias. So I'm learning about the context of the aria as well and the meaning behind it. Because I've never, when I've sung arias before, you just sing the aria to like do a competition or something, right? But no, she's an opera singer. So she's actually teaching me to like think about, she's telling me the English translation and then figure out what you're singing. So that's interesting to put the heart into it more in that way from the start. But she keeps telling me that I should be on stage in New York with her because she goes back and forth. And it's just like, got me thinking, like, do I have any interest in ever doing opera? And so my husband and I kind of dragged him a little bit. He went sort of willingly to support me to a local opera and just to kind of see. And I was surprised. I always thought of opera as just, you know, them standing on the stage, and thought that I know that they move around and stuff, but I didn't realize just how much story there is in it. It's a lot more like a musical than I expected, a lot more acting involved. And something else that surprised me was that, you know, in my experience of performing in concerts and competitions and stuff, you sing a song and everybody claps. And it's like this one accumulation of all of your work of that one song. And it's kind of hard for me to try to express this, but it's like, I don't know, I guess there's validation in that moment, like you finished the song, but in opera, it's just part of a story and it just moves on. And you do clap throughout here and there, but there's not the same level, like the entire show is an opera and the entire show is sung. So it's not any one moment that's like really stands out as I don't really know how to express, like, this is the one moment we're all clapping for you because you're so amazing, you know. It just keeps going. And so in one sense, it kind of made it feel to me like opera kind of takes away in a sense, some of the appreciation of the art, because I don't know, it feels like people don't, it's like there's not as much novelty if the whole thing is the same thing. The whole thing is opera. But on the other hand, it made me wonder, is what I'm really feeling based in pride? Like, am I wanting the you know, attention and the accolade of it? Or, you know, what is it? What's that issue that I'm feeling, you know?
Very interesting.
And then that also got me thinking, what are really the differences between musical theater and opera, and why can't they be more intertwined or more similar? Or like, why are they so separate in everybody's minds? I mean, I guess the operas were generally written a long time ago and are generally in different languages, but I don't know. Those are just some of the thoughts mulling around in my mind.
Yeah, really interesting. And the only operas I've ever experienced were watching a video of an opera. So I think that's wonderful that you got to do that, experience that in person too. And then you have all of these thoughts that you're just kind of, like you said, mulling over. And as a performer, it's going to be different, your perspective. So, and I'm kind of thinking of this, I was thinking about how much that is almost like an analogy of our lives. You know, we have all of these different kind of mini performances that happen throughout the story that perhaps get acknowledged a little bit, you know, but it's not until the end of the opera or the end of the story that there's any true, I don't know, acknowledgement or, you know, like the accolades and stuff, and the, okay, this is what we think of your performance. I don't know,
Yeah.
or the experience.
That really makes me want to go see an opera. It's been a while.
Yeah, me too. Lots to think about. That's interesting, Melanie. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to tell her, thank you for sharing that. Really makes me think. Yeah. I went to school for music, vocal performance, but I wouldn't consider myself a singer. I sing all the time, but I'm not really a performer, you know.
Interesting. All the music people that we have in our group of friends. I love that.
One other thought I've had too is, like I said, she's been telling me I should go to New York with her, which, like, that's never been a thought in my mind, you know, and my family's here, my husband's job's here. But just the other day, she told me that she just found out last minute there's an opera gala for one of her opera houses in New York, where it's just a one-off performance and there's just one rehearsal. And hey, do you want to come with me and sing in it? And I was just kind of stunned, first of all, that she thought I could. And my family's busy. We're going to a conference next week. So like, it logistically doesn't even make sense. But just her confidence in me has just got me thinking more like, maybe I'm more ready to perform than I thought, you know? And what do I really want to do?
Right. And having somebody acknowledge your worth in this area. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, and thinking too, like, it's amazing what one person's confidence in you can have an effect on you. Because I've done music most of my life and haven't done as much with it the last like 10, 15 years of motherhood. But you know, my husband got me a nice microphone for Christmas, expecting me to like finally, you know, we've kind of talked for years about maybe making a YouTube channel together and just do something and just see where it goes. And it's just been this, you know, idea, and I haven't even opened the box yet, but it just, I don't know, gets me thinking, what do I really want to do? And am I ready to actually do something?
Oh, Melanie, I love this. I love that Heavenly Father sent you this extra kind of boost of confidence to say, sweetie, you can do this. you've got the talent to do this. Now, what's your mission? What is it that you're supposed to do with this amazing voice that could just up and go to a one rehearsal operatic performance? That is pretty impressive. That says a lot about your skill level to be able to do that. So you get this huge, okay, you've got it. And I also think it's so tender that you haven't even opened the box yet. How often do we do this? You know, we have a gift and we're just thinking, oh, not me. I'm not enough. I can't do that. But when it's these mission kinds of assignments, you're not doing it by yourself. What you have is part of the offering, and he makes up the difference. I just love it. It's scary for
And
you.
it reminds me of a lantern in her hands when she had so many gifts and talents, and because of what she chose family, you know, and she ended up being a seed planter her whole life, and it was her children that were able to do the fruits. But Melanie, I wonder if you don't need to be a seed planter your whole life. Maybe you can bring some of the fruits out.
I love that idea. Boy, Melanie, I know this is bringing up a lot of them for you. And Melissa's asking the question, who had beautiful birds singing in the background in this conversation? I love that addition to discussion, and that's Shari, because we just heard those come up again as she's sitting outside. And that was lovely to have that in the background. Oh, Melanie, we are here to support you.
I think wind chimes. Wind chimes and birds, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was listening and I thought, okay, I heard both. I hear the chimes and the birds, but it's lovely. But oh, Melanie, it takes so much courage to take that first step. And sometimes I'll share this just tiny little bit of it, of just a suggestion, because sometimes it's just, if you're not ready to hear the whole assignment yet, that's okay. You can ask Heavenly Father, just what do I need to do today? What can I do today to get closer to this thing that you want me to do? And that's sometimes a lot easier to handle than the big, whatever it is. But just what can I do today? Those are things that can kind of weigh heavily when you're anticipating, when you're getting closer to it. But I love that you shared that with us. Okay, anybody else? We got a couple others joining us now. We get Sarah and Ida. Welcome, girls. It's so great, so great to have you on. We're talking about all kinds of different things. We're talking about the feelings that we have and how that motivates us. We're talking about missions, things that we're supposed to do and how we start feeling led to that, but we're just unsure about how to proceed. So, and we're always open to anything anybody has come up on their heart that they just want to share. Something that's happened this week, something that's going on in your life, something you've learned.
Hey guys.
Hey Ida, way to break the silence.
Sorry.
Woo!
I'm sorry. I just realized what time it was and I'm like, darn it. So anyways, I just caught the last 2 seconds of what you said, but I thought I would share like this whole Mothers of Influence thing. I felt like I needed to start that, and so I did, and it's been super good and also scary, and it goes back and forth. And the last couple weeks I've been thinking about that, and I was thinking about, what do I do? I don't know what I'm doing with this group. It's so hard. I don't feel like we have this connection yet. Hi, Sam. And anyway, so sorry, it's kind of noisy. The kids are getting lunch. But this last week I was like, oh, I just need to start like sharing about stuff. Even if it's not like amazing, anything amazing, just sharing stuff helps people feel connected, you know? So
Mhm.
I started that. I shared with them some of our baby chickens, and I was like, this is so fun watching these baby chickens and the mama and how she takes care of them. And it makes me love, I don't know, just being outside and watching that. And it helped start this conversation on our little Marco Polo group. And one of the other ladies that didn't come to our last meeting, she just like gets back on and she's like, I just want you guys to know I love listening to all the little things you share. And like, we haven't shared anything, but just a few things. But she's like, I want to be part of this group, so please don't kick me out. And I'm like, no, definitely not gonna do that. Anyways, it was just kind of a cool little thing like that helped me, like that was a little bit of inspiration to like just share something simple. And then we were able to have like this conversation, and I think it helped. I just felt like there was more connection after that, and between all of us, um and just remembering like that moms are busy. We're all busy, right? And like sometimes we don't reach out to each other, or we don't respond, or we can't be there necessarily all the time. But trying to remember that everybody's, you know, carrying a lot and doing the different things that they're trying to do. And anyways, so I mean, it's still a journey, and I'm definitely not a good I'm not an expert at all, but it's been fun to just see how that is changing. And I don't know, it's interesting.
So Ida, you started your own Mothers of Influence group. So
yeah,
Lori, are you sort of trying to seed us into doing branching out and making our own?
I
their
just
master
might
plan.
have, an evil genius plan. But as Lindsay and I have talked about this a lot, we've said we don't want anybody to leave. This is the deal now. You have to stay here and do your own. I'm just kidding. You don't have to, but we don't really want anyone to leave. But we felt very strongly from the beginning that this was kind of a training ground. It was a place where we could learn how, I mean, we didn't know that it evolved into that, but we recognized that it was a place for us to feel what Mothers of Influence feels like. I keep when we have visits from the grandmas, there's 7 other ladies that are along with me for reason are the grandmas, these mom mentors for Mothers of Influence. And when they join our group, they will say conversations on Marco afterwards and say that group just feels like moi. They captured that feeling. And so it's here, we're feeling it, we're experiencing that, like Ida said, that vulnerability, the sharing, connecting, that talking about real things. And that's what we want to take to other women, to make available to other women. And when you're meeting in person, just like any of you that have connected maybe with somebody from this group, being able to meet with someone in person and share these things has it's a whole different level of that connection. However, I don't know, Lindsay, I'd love to hear what you think if you're even close to somehow being able to talk, but I do feel like somehow this group, and maybe that means all virtual groups, but at least this virtual group has like transcended, the whatever the boundary of the screen, and we have connected in a way that generally only happens in person. So I don't know how that's happened. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I don't feel like we have anything less here than if we met in person. But Moi was intended to be kind of a neighborhood thing. You and a few friends get together and you start sharing and connecting on a personal, meaningful level, having these feelings together, sharing these things that that actually have in some way impacted your heart, and made a difference in your life. Sad or wonderful, inspiring or just very thought-provoking, but sharing these things that mean something to you. I don't know how you all feel. I don't know what happens with you, but as I'm like I've been reading Keeper of the Bees, right? And I posted on the Marco Polo about it. I absolutely am loving it. It's so beautiful. And as I'm reading, like some of the little parts of the story that are just sweet, tender, or kind of emotional, or, whatever it is, as I'm experiencing these feelings, I think, oh, I want to share it with you guys. That's who you are, who I want to share these things with. And that's a change in my life now. And I have this group of women it's important to me to connect to. So anyway, sorry, that was an answer to the question and kind of adding more. But Lindsay, I know you're driving. Can you talk or no?
Sorry, I got distracted by an estate sale. We stopped up to talk for a little bit, but I found a good find. I got this little set of the Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady.
Yeah, I have that. I love it. And that's Lindsay's very good about the nature journaling.
Yeah, I love it because I heard a story too. So it's got like the story of Enid Holden, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool.
I love it. And we can't hear you very well, just FYI. But I mean, you are driving. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so since you're driving, I'm going to go back to Ida. Ida is going to share something too. Thank you for sharing that. I love that book. I have that too. I love just thumbing through and reading a little bit about her and looking at her beautiful drawings. Okay.
So I've been having these other interesting experiences. So there's a group of women. Okay, first of all, I'm in a book club with some ladies, and it's really fun. I'm in a virtual one and one in person. It's crazy. I shouldn't be doing that, but anyways, but it's been interesting to meet with these other women and talk about things like the books or whatever. And then I'm in another women's group that meets during the Young Men, Young Women activity that we have during the week, a couple nights a month. And we have been discussing things about all kinds of stuff in the scriptures, basically. It originally was about studying the priesthood. And it's been really interesting for me to be participating in those different groups and just feeling the feeling there. And I felt like, well, these are kind of like mothers of influence groups, but they're not the same. And there's some things that are good about them, but there's also some things that I'm like, I don't like that actually. And I think it's been like teaching me a little bit, and I think, I don't know if everybody hears LDS, but I think I just got called to teach a class, and I was telling Lori about that, and it's really intimidating for me. And I was asking this guy he was teaching it before me in a different ward, and then we got split and put in a new congregation, and I'm teaching. I got asked to teach it, and I was like, okay. And it's all the adults, the men and women, right? I think most of you guys know. Anyways, so I had a couple of experiences that were like frustrating the first couple of times I taught. And then I went and I saw this brother last night, actually, no, 2 nights ago. And I said, and he's like a CES, he is a CES employee, and he trains seminary teachers. And he's a good teacher and a good guy. Anyways, so I'm like, Brother Nixon, I need to pick your brain, and you need to tell me how to be a good teacher. Like, give me all the tips you got for teaching gospel doctrine. And so he sat down and was talking to me for a while, and we were just sitting there, and he was telling me all these different things. One of the situations that I was sharing with him is that I had this person say, I was teaching something, and he says, raises his hand, he's like, well, I just got here, but that's actually not true. And I was like, what? And it was super, like, I was really taken aback by it, because I'm pretty sure it's true, but that's beside the point.
Well, and
I-
first off, rude. That's
yeah, it was super rude, but I didn't know how to
Aw,
respond. I was just like, and so I'm like, well, I don't want to teach false doctrine or anything like that. And I was like, so, and so I'm like, well, how about we can agree that this is this, right? And he's like, fine. Well, I went home and looked it up, and I wasn't teaching false doctrine. I was like, ah! Sorry, that was loud. Anyways, so I was telling him about this experience, and I had a similar thing happen in the first class, but with a different person. And they came up to me afterwards and were like, that's actually not true. This is blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And so then I was feeling so
thanks
nervous
y'all
about
for
like,
the support.
yeah. But I also was feeling so nervous, like I need to know everything. Like I can't go teach this class and like people are going to tell me I'm teaching something wrong all the time. So I was talking to him, and he's like, don't let them get away with that. He's like, you turn it right back on them and say, okay, well, that's a really interesting perspective. I have never thought about that like that. Can you share scripture or something that helped you to see that or whatever? And then if they don't have one, you can say, well, can you maybe share something next week or whatever? Or and then they might share scripture, and you still might think, yeah, I don't see that. And that's okay. And if they share scripture and it does in fact teach you or share something that's like opposite of what you were saying, then everybody's learned, right? Everybody in the class has learned something. And so it was actually like, I don't think he was trying to be rude or anything to me, but what he was teaching me helped me to recognize some places where I needed to be more humble, and I needed to be more like, first of all, I don't know everything, and that's okay. I'm not supposed to, and nobody does, right? And I think I had this idea that I just need to be the most knowledgeable person in the room, and that's just not realistic, right? And then also I felt like I need to be okay with not having an answer, and that's a hard thing to do for me. So I clearly needed to be a little bit humbler, and then also recognizing that other people might have something that's valuable to share, and I don't have to be afraid to say, okay, well, that's really interesting perspective. Why don't you share something and teach us? And something else that, and just being able to, what was the other thing that I was like, I need to do better about that. Like it's, anyways, I can't remember. Maybe it'll come to me, but I just felt like I was so grateful for what he shared. And like, I felt like I was kind of like I had been put into this situation, and I was like all over the place trying to figure out what the heck I was supposed to be doing. And it helped me to like focus in, like, this is the most important thing. And this is where you need to spend your time and your energy. And like, Heavenly Father's going to help you and teach you. And all of us, right? But it made me think about how I interact with other people in a group setting. Like, it's okay if we don't all agree on things, and it's okay if we don't have the same perspective, and we need to be humble and recognize that people have things that they can share that are of value and are a different view about stuff, and that we can have that conversation. We don't have to be afraid to like ask those questions and have that kind of a discussion. I don't know, it was just like, I should probably go and write some notes about that experience, but it helped me feel like I was kind of asking for a little bit of like, well, back me up here, and he did, and he was very encouraging and supportive, but also, and I don't even know if he was intentionally doing this. He was just sharing, I think, what he felt prompted to share, and it helped me to see ways that I needed to improve. And it was kind of an interesting thing. It was like, like when you get chastised by the Lord, it's not like he's like, he's like, come here, let's have a talk, you know?
Yeah.
And he tells you something, and it's not like I felt like chastised necessarily, but I felt like I needed to do some things differently. And it was such a cool experience, but I feel like it was Heavenly Father also helping me to see how I can be a better leader
Mm-hmm.
and just a better teacher and a better mother of influence, because you have to be willing to, you know, I don't know, I feel like this is part of my learning process, you know?
Right.
And so it was just kind of, and it tied into these other groups, because I've been thinking about these other groups that I'm a part of and things that I am uncomfortable with in those groups and I don't think are good. And at first I was kind of being a little bit critical, and I realized that's something, those things that I'm noticing are things that I need to work on so that I don't create that kind of an atmosphere or feeling, you know, in a group setting. And so I feel like it was all kind of Heavenly Father's like, I need you to see this, and I need you to see this, and I need you to see this, and you're going to go through this little experience, and we're going to talk about this. And hopefully you can learn something, and then we're going to keep going, and I'm sure there's more, right? But anyways, I don't know. That's a rambling, but I kind of felt like Heavenly Father's just he's always trying to teach us stuff, and sometimes it's hard, but like I don't know. I'm not sure what my point exactly is, but I was having all these thoughts. Sometimes it's helpful for me to just talk about them. So thank you for listening.
Of course. No, it's wonderful. And I love Melissa's comment down here. Well, I love all the comments, but I'll share Melissa's just as you're summing up. I love the stories that have been shared today about people giving confidence boosts. Because even though there was, like you said, you felt kind of that soft chastisement, it still gave you the confidence to move forward and do that in a different and what you feel is better way. So I love that. And then Melanie said, I love that way of turning it back to them and helping everyone learning together. So I love that. And she gave a book recommendation too for teaching. So that's great. I love it. Any other thoughts from the rest of you on Ida's story? I love it, Ida. I love how humble you were, that you went seeking that kind of, what can I do? How do I respond? Because you can't, but when you're, it's just true. When you're standing in front of a gospel doctrine class and teaching, you feel like, oh, I'm supposed to be the expert. I'm the one that everybody's looking to. And you're not. You're a facilitator. It should be a discussion. The room is full of adults who should be studying the scriptures and coming with what they have learned and then sharing, right? But there's just something about standing up there that makes you feel like you've got to field every question, you know, or every critique.
You know, Lori, another thing he said was, I was worried about reading the scriptures. Like, I'm not worried about it, but I was like, I wanted to read it, but I feel like they should have read already and come to class, haven't been prepared, right? So that we can have a discussion and then learn, right? And so I'm like, how do you balance that? And he's like, well, the CS director here said he went to a class and they were doing Alma 34, the chapter about faith. And the teacher taught this really great lesson, and it was a good lesson and everything. And then afterwards he's like, so you think you can teach faith better than Alma? And he's like, no, I don't. And he's like, but you do, because you didn't spend any time in Alma. And that was a real aha learning thing. And he shared that to me. I was like, oh,
that's
yeah,
powerful,
right? Like, this is inspired. And yes, I can be inspired too, but clearly it's important, and probably more important than anything I have to say. So I was like, oh, I need to remember that always. Don't be afraid to like let the Spirit teach them as they read the actual from the horse's mouth, you know, so to speak.
Yeah,
So.
I love that. That's powerful. And that's such a great way to teach that too. What a gentle way, but powerful way to teach that principle. That's great. Okay, Lindsay, my friend, I know we're at the end, but I wanted to share with you friends. I'm not sure exactly what, so hopefully Lindsay knows, because I'm turning it over to Lindsay to talk a little bit about what she and I have experienced this week and talked about, and kind of what we're doing. So I don't know, whatever part or parts of that you want to share, you feel prompted to share, Lindsay.
Okay. Well, we've talked about it a little bit. Lori and I are starting a little Well-Educated Heart school in the fall, and it'll be in her backyard. And so we're just kind of working out details right now as far as like who to help us teach, and the name of the school, and what we're going to call the little groups, and what ages will go where, and just all these little details. But like the most amazing thing working through it is that Lori's thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. We're both getting instruction from the Spirit. And then as we come together, like we're on the same page because the Spirit has been guiding both of us the whole time. It's just been a really cool thing. Because I think I've gotten inspiration for myself and for my family where I don't have to be on the same page as another person, I guess my husband. But as far as like being a mom, it comes to me and I carry through. So it's been really confirming, I guess, to know that that's what the Spirit is telling me when I go to Lori and she's like, yep, that's what I got too. And so we're like able to validate each other's like experiences. It's just been really cool. And so I don't know, I think so then I've been able to have other conversations with other people about my experience, and then that helps me open up that. Like I was talking to one of the other guides at Outsiders yesterday. He's young, he just turned 20, but he's this amazing kid. And I was talking to him about his classes he's taking right now because he's doing some college classes, but really he was telling me he's just doing these religion classes, and he's not a member of our church, but he's been studying the New Testament and things. And I was just telling him how it's interesting if you focus on those most important things first, and helping, like the Spirit will help you learn and like guide where you're supposed to go. And he just was like, oh, absolutely. Like that's what I've been experiencing. And just all these conversations I've had with people on how the Spirit will just guide us in our lives and how amazing that is. But yeah, I don't know what else to share about our school. It's just super exciting.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. And what a beautiful thing that happens from getting together with another person and sharing things that you're learning or working on or whatever, to be able to have these confirmations. It's been very exciting and very tender at the same time. So I love it. I love it. And then Lindsay, can I also ask you to share again, and I know you've done this before, but share again your the results of bringing Well-Educated Heart, that pattern of learning, to this wild place that you teach outside at Outsiders with these groups of kids, different age groups, but having this, similar outcomes.
Yeah, no, that's where I've really seen the impact of Well-Educated Heart, because in my own home, I don't know, like we've always kind of done it that way, and we've always read stories. So I guess I never saw the other side. Like I never saw what it was like in a home without it. And so to be out there and then to be with these kids and to start reading them a story and realize that some of them have never been just read a story like this before, or been introduced to a character in a book as they're your friend. And even just to read simple like nursery rhymes where they're like, oh, this is vaguely familiar. Like, and they get excited because they're like, oh, remind me how that goes. Like, I kind of remember this. And they're just so excited. And if I, what else have I done? And I showed the pictures. I think that's been the coolest thing, just showing the fine art. Like Emily was talking about this resource we have of all these beautiful pictures. And I would just show them to the kids from like my book of delights, and just have them, I mean, and they're just crazy and wild. And I think they're never going to do this. And I'll show them the picture and say, okay, what do you notice? And they'll notice all sorts of things and say, okay, what do we wonder? Like, what do you wonder about these people in this painting? And they have all sorts of ideas, and they just kind of all work together and they calm down. It's like a night and day difference in the attitude of these kids. The other day we did nature journaling. My like lesson I was supposed to give was on plants and animals. So I was like, great, I could take this however I want. We're gonna go just like nature journaling. So I think I already shared this. I introduced them to Freckles, and I introduced them to like John Muir Laws, where we get the I notice, I wonder, this reminds me of. And I introduced them to Edwin Landseer, who also sketched animals. And we went around the property and they were so into it. And they were so excited to show me their sketches, and they sketched the horse. And I asked them to do those questions, and some of them did, some of them didn't, but the ones that did were so amazed. And there's these trees out there, and we see the trees all the time, but I don't think the kids ever stop and like look into the tree to see what kind of birds are coming in and out of this tree. And I told them, if we stand here long enough, there are bright fluorescent green parakeets that come in and out of these trees. And they were like, nuh-uh. Like, no, there's not. We don't have like parrots in Bakersfield. And I was like, just wait. And we stood there, not even a minute. And here they come, like one after another. They're like, what? We had no idea. And then pretty soon I'm like, look, there's another bird and it's going in that hole. Where does that hole go to? And then there was like, oh, there's another one. And it's like black and white stripes. And like all of a sudden they're like, what kind of bird is that? And then we went back to the field guide. It's just so exciting because they're getting it for the first time. Like my kids are like, yeah, mom, we've seen that bird. Like, we know, whatever. We've seen this, we've done this. And so they've it's kind of sad, but I feel like my kids have just like become desensitized to all these beautiful things. I don't know how to make it exciting again. But to do it with the outsiders kids who don't do this ever, it's been really cool. Like I'm able to just change the atmosphere of my little outdoor classroom so quickly. I love it.
I love it. I think that's amazing. And it's just a good reminder for us because these are kids who haven't experienced it and they're responding, you know.
Yeah. It just makes me excited for next year that's what we get to teach all the time.
Yeah.